This video is a bit of a departure for me. I usually just post things on cars and boats and stuff that interests me, my hobbies, but also for my sins I do up old houses. I have another house that I'm doing up, but this is my house where I live, and as you can see it has a Jotul No3 wood burning stove in it that until recently heated the hot water, in addition to the gas, heated the hot water that was stored in a separate hot water cylinder that didn't work. It just had didn't work on mains pressure. I must emphasise that. In the UK we often have systems that just have a header tank in the loft for reasons which are now pretty much redundant. That system is being gradually dropped, but this is an old house. We are now going over more to directly fed hot water directly off the mains, where a Combi boiler heats the water on demand. I've had such a boiler fitted, Worcester Bosch, and we've gone over to a Combi system. That's rendered the boiler and the hot water cylinder, the boiler in this stove and the hot water cylinder, redundant. So the hot water cylinder has been removed, the pipes were cut, and they were still connected through the wall to this stove with its boiler in until quite recently. Now I've just removed the boiler and I've removed the pipes from the back of the boiler and taken the boiler out of the stove and to make a decision about how to proceed with a stove that no longer has water in it in the boiler. This video is my take on how to proceed, because I think there's a lot of confusion on the internet, and I'm querying the reasons why we would want to fill a boiler with sand. In this particular instance, it's not a wraparound boiler, it's a simple one which is in the same place that a baffle plate would be had this stove not been equipped to heat water. But it has been equipped to heat water, and if I take the boiler out completely, there's no baffle plate that I can get hold of easily to fit in the space to ensure that the stove functions in a normal manner, and I would have holes in the back with the pipe stuck through, so that wasn't a very satisfactory option. Anyway, I take this stove apart and I'll show you the insides with regard to the boiler and what I plan to do with regard to proceeding with this stove. This is the boiler, such as it is, out of my Jotul No3 wood burning stove, which is now decommissioned because I have gone over to a Combi boiler on the gas, and we've removed the hot water cylinder, so there's nowhere for this to go. So I've been looking on the internet, and I've actually found the original supplying dealer of the stove, and one thing you get a lot of is, oh, you've got to fill the boiler with sand. Now, no one really seems to be that sure as to why it's a good idea to fill the boiler with sand, and looking at it I'm thinking, why would you bother? You know, sand is an insulator, but you know, this had water in it, and if you don't put sand in it, it will just have air in it, and the boiler will get hot and hot air will come out of the pipes. So it'll probably be very hot air, but don't go sticking your hand around the back of a stove. You wouldn't do that anyway. You'd have to reach down behind the stove to get to the outlets. So apart from the fact that it would kind of from the point of view of safety, sand is not going to do anything to help this boiler. It's not going to stop it cracking, it's not going to stop it deforming, because this is made of 1/4-inch steel plate and it's all welded construction. It's been fabricated. It's not cast, it's fabricated. And it's not going to hurt it to get it hot or not. I mean, the stoves are built out of 1/4-inch mild steel plate, so I can't understand why anyone would think it'd be a good idea to fill it with sand. I'm not going to be doing that. I'm just going to leave these open, completely open. There's no water in there, and my safety caveats are that before you light a stove that has no longer got any water in the boiler, make sure there isn't any water in the boiler. but if there's a little bit in there, it will soon steam out. Don't close these off, leave them open, and then don't go sticking your hand down the back of the boiler, down the back of the stove when it's running, because hot air will be coming out of these. But it will get up to temperature, same as the rest of the stove, and radiate it to the room. So I can't really see how adding sand is going to A, protect this very substantially built boiler, or help by insulating the inside of it. So that's my take. My opinion is don't fill it with sand, because if you wanted to reinstate the boiler you'd have a problem getting all the sand out. Okay, so that's my opinion. You can decide for yourself what to do, but as an engineer I'm saying that's going to withstand the heat from the fire just fine. Here is my stove. I've yet to put the lid back on, but I've cleaned up the insides and I've refitted the boiler, which is just simply dropped into place, and there's a couple of nuts that go onto the pipes at the back with some sealing washers, which are probably made of asbestos, but anyway, they're solid and you don't go abrading them, so they won't be giving off any fibres. I've now to fit the top back on of the stove, which simply drops into place, and I've bought new sealing rope, which is glass fibre rope, which is glued in place, and fitted that to the underside of the top. Here is the top of the stove on my bench in my workshop. It's upside down, obviously. Decorative side is downwards. I fitted a new sealing rope. This is glass fibre, proper stuff, and it's glued into place. So you have to put some glue in there to get the channel clean, which I did using wire brushes and electric drill and twist knot and what have you. Got it clean, wiped it out with some mess on a piece of tissue, and then put some glue in the bottom of the channel, fitted the rope, cut it to size, and then at the end of it, you get a bit of glass fibre tape to wrap around to stop it from fraying and to join the ends together. So that needs now to have about 20 or 30 minutes of drying time before you refit the lid. I think that's what's in the instructions. This is actually advertised as a door seal, but it's the correct size, and it's slightly more squishy than the one that came out, so I think that'll seal very effectively. So I'm quite pleased with that. Okay, the stove is now fully reassembled. The top is back on, and the flue reassembled and fire cemented into the collar to seal it. So that's job complete. The only thing now is to start the stove, to run it, and to heat, obviously, and cure the fire cement in the collar around the flue. Here's the stove now running. I ran it yesterday for about 4 or 5 hours, and initially it sort of popped and clicked and spluttered a bit from the sounds from inside the boiler, where I imagine there was bits of rust and what have you flaking off the insides, but it's now fully dried out and cooked, and now it's running perfectly, as you see. I have yet to clean the glass, but that's a job for another day. I just wanted to get the thing functioning, really, to get some heat going. If you're wondering whether to fill your boiler full of sand or vermiculite, I've heard is something else that people put in, it's very much up to you, but I've gone the route of just not having anything in there at all. It's, as you saw, it wasn't a very big boiler. It wasn't a wraparound one. It was only really suitable for doing like 1 or 2 radiators or a hot water cylinder, and it took quite a while to heat a cylinder up with hot water. But yeah, I think this is just fine, and I'm going to continue running it this way. Okay, thanks for watching.